Welcome to the Jali podcast. I'm your host, Melyssa Barrett. This podcast is for those who are interested in the conversation around diversity, inclusion, and equity. Each week, I'll be interviewing a guest who has something special to share or is actively part of building solutions in this space. Let's get started. All right, so today we are joined by Tamara Shiloh, and I am just really enjoying and excited to speak to her as an author, speaker, entrepreneur. And I am just so interested in your background and how you got to where you are today.
Wow. Well, I'm going to give you the short version. I've been around a long time. This particular journey started probably a little over 20 years ago when I received an email, and the email it had a list of all these Black inventors and scientists, and I had never seen these folks before. And so the other thing is there was a little story with it also. And at that particular time, I just started learning how to use Microsoft Publisher. So I was creating all these little pamphlets for friends and some of my friends who were entrepreneurs. And I decided to do one for my grandson. But then I thought about these people I'm putting in here. And I'm like, what if this was a hoax or, fake news or whatever? So I went to the library, and sure enough, there were a couple of books about Black inventors and scientists. I'm like, what the heck? And then I got pissed, because why don't I know any of these people? It was just ridiculous. Some of the things I saw that we had done, I'm like, really?
Yes.
And so it was right then, I'm sorry. I thought I turned. It was right then that I decided to write a children's book. And however, when I put all the information together, when I started working on it, it was apparent that this book was going to be 6 or 7 inches thick, because there was so much information, and kids aren't going to want to read all of that. So I decided to break it up into a series. And so initially it was 5 books. And so I actually wrote them 20 years ago. And so fast forwarding, 2 or 3 years ago. Well, I worked with those books for about 5 years, I think it was, because I went on tour with them in 2005. It was a little short tour because I didn't know what I was doing. So let me tell you, I have learned so much more since then. First of all, I didn't even try to shop the books because, first of all, I didn't know how. And now that I know what I know, there's no way in heck that they would have taken those books at the time, right? So I put the books down, and a few years ago I retired. I was an HR manager with a civil engineering firm, and my daughter had been threatening to take the books and do stuff on her own. So I decided to rewrite them, make them more engaging. And so I did. And I'm not sure if it was around the same time I joined Becky's, the group, the Bay Area Independent Publishers Association. But I will tell you that having joined that group, I could not believe what I didn't know. It was so overwhelming. I didn't miss a meeting for a year. I was just grasping for all of the knowledge. It was incredible. They still are.
Yeah.
And so I did. Yeah, I decided to rewrite them. So I got an editor. I got an illustrator. And now the books are very cool. So I'm really happy about what's happened. It's taken me a while now the first 2 books are done, and I'm working on book 3. It's slow. My editor, I'm driving her crazy, but I'm just busy with all this other stuff that I'm doing. Right? So the first 2 books, well, the name of the series is Just Imagine What If There Were No Black People in the World. The first book in the series is Jackson's Magical Adventure with Black Inventors and Scientists. And then the second one is Jackson and Kevin's Black History Trip Downtown.
Yes.
And the third one is going to be about women, Black women inventors and scientists. Okay. And I'm the character will be Jackson and his cousin Maddie talking about that. So I'm excited about doing it. It's just, oh my goodness. I have so much going on right now, which on one hand is, a really cool thing, but the other side of that is I'm not taking the time to sit down and write. It won't take me long once I do it, but
yeah.
finding
Well,
the
it's so interesting to me though, because when even in this last year with COVID and with all of the focus on social injustice, you realize that there's so much history, so much rich history that not only do, I'll say our allies may not know, but in a lot of cases, we may not even know our own history for a variety of reasons.
we don't.
So, when you start talking about what if there were no Black people in the world, I mean, you start going, well, look at all the inventions that wouldn't be here, or, there's just so many. I mean, I can't even begin to think about all the impacts that Blacks have had, not only in the United States, but
Oh, yeah.
around the world. And so, you start thinking about, kind of STEM and, being able to connect with young people to help them understand how science and technology, engineering, math, even the arts are, just so necessary. So, I mean, is your audience typically, I'm sure you must speak both for younger audiences as well as older audiences, because there's a lot of old folks that don't know some of the history either.
That's very true. So in the last couple of years, I have a Black history class that I do. It's an after school and a summer program that I do. Okay, so along with the book, I created a coloring book, a journal, and an activity book. And that was to, if there were any teachers out there who really were interested in including Black history into their curriculum, I thought this might help them some. And so the books now, they're designed to help kids with reading and to get them interested in STEM, hopefully, and to give them options for careers. It's like most Black children never heard of a Black microbiologist or an oceanographer or an inventor, so my goal is to let them see that Black people, for one, have been doing things forever. It didn't start with Dr. Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
been, since we set foot on the soil, we've been doing wonderful things. And they need to understand that they too can do any of these things, but they need to know that, there are Black people doing these things, I tell parents to watch your child. If they like playing in dirt, that might be the next famous anthropologist or something. I don't know. But, take advantage of whatever their interests are, because there's a Black person that's done something in that field,
Yes.
So I use the books, to encourage kids to read. So that's the other thing. I also facilitate a Black history professional development class for educators to show them how to easily incorporate Black history into their curriculum. Because my famous line is, you can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
And it's not difficult if you have the tools, to work with. And you do find there are a lot of Black folks that do not know their history, but, we weren't taught, especially in California. If you didn't have a Black teacher and you didn't have one who knew their history, you weren't going to really learn about it. And then there's the problem of learning about the same 7 people every year for the past 50 years, right? So, so I have a thing about that. So I just try to do my piece to try to help, children understand, because I say to teachers in that class, I said, I keep hearing this thing that Black children do not like to read. Well, have you ever thought about it's what you're giving them to read?
Right.
Okay. I mean, because when they come into my bookstore, which is another story and I'll share in a minute, when they come in, they get excited about seeing their little faces on the covers of books. And their parents are like, oh my gosh, so I know it works. I have parents who come back and say, oh my God, I cannot believe he actually read the book, or whatever. So, that's the thing. So you want me to segue into the bookstore?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, tell us about your bookstore. I know you have one in Richmond,
Right, we
right?
do. I do. It started off, oh my gosh, I'm going to fast forward on that too. So initially there were three of us, and then there were two, because one of the partners, she had the inventory, because she did mobile book sales. She did conferences and things like that, huge. So she had a garage bookstore, if you will. So she actually provided the inventory for the book for the store initially. And initially, it was only supposed to be a pop up for a couple months. But we did so well, they asked us in the mall to stay. Well, one of the partners, she didn't want a brick and mortar. She just wanted to continue to do what she did. So we purchased the inventory from her. So then there were just two of us. And so last year, she decided that she didn't want to do this anymore and focus on her nonprofit. So here I am, a bookstore owner. I'm like, okay. But I had a lot of support from the community. They loved the bookstore. It was a lovely bookstore. I mean, I really say so myself. The one thing that parents, everybody was really happy about is that all the books were faithful. So you don't need to know names of authors, and you didn't need to know names of books, because, a lot of people, myself included, I don't know names of books. I don't know names of authors, but when you go walk into a bookstore and wow, you don't have to know any of that information, you can just see. It just made a world of difference. I tell people, it's not that Barnes and Noble or the other bookstores don't carry Black books, Latino books, Asian, or they just, if you don't know the name of the book or the name of the authors, it's kind of hard to find them. And we wanted to make sure that people didn't have to worry about that. And so that was one of the things that made people really happy. And in the bookstore, I did a lot of things. I had Black history classes. I had STEM classes. I had a math tutor. We did story time every Saturday. I had enough space where we could have networking events or birthday parties, so it was a cool spot. I did a lot. And so,
yeah, it was more than a bookstore.
Right, exactly. So the transition is a little cumbersome right now because the space is different. And so until I'm not going to open up the walk-in until I get this pristine, or until I get it as close to the store and the mall as I can. It won't be the exact, but I want people to feel the same type of experience that they had there. But we're doing online. So I do have an online store, and we still do story time on Saturdays. And okay, real quickly, I'm gonna do a commercial. Did you see?
Okay, tell them about it. Tell them where they can go.
Did you see Jingle Jangle yet? Have you watched that?
No.
Are you even familiar with it?
Which one? What are you talking about?
Jingle Jangle. Okay. Well, girl, first of all, go watch the video. The movie. It's on Netflix. And Jingle Jangle is a Black Christmas musical. Oh my God, it's so wonderful. My face was hurting because I was smiling so much. It's just, Forrest Whitaker is in there, and some of the other people. Oh, what's her name? Debbie Allen's sister, Felicia Rashad.
Yes.
She's in it.
Okay.
It is, oh my God, I'm excited thinking about it. Well, here's the part I wanted to really share. So the author of the book, her publicity person contacted me and asked if they could do a Zoom story time with the store. So on December the 12th, we're going to have Zoom with the Jingle Jangle author, Lynn Sisson Talbot.
Awesome.
She and her husband created it. So she wrote two books. She has, The Square Root of Possible. That is a picture book that she'll be reading. And then Jingle Jangle. She'll be discussing Jingle Jangle on December 12th at 2 o'clock. Okay, so that's my commercial.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, and they can go to your website for more information, or?
Yes. Yes, they can. The link is there. Obviously, it's not good until December 12th, but yes, they can go to the multiculturalbookstore.com and go. I think she's put it right at the beginning, actually, but it's also on the story time tab also. So,
Let's pause for a moment. We'll be right back. Well, and I noticed you have books specifically on many cultures, including African American, Latino, Asian, South Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern. And then you even go into biracial, disability, diversity, LGBTQ, and all sorts of genres from babies to adults, which
exactly.
is, everybody doesn't necessarily do that when they have a bookstore because that's tends to
No,
be.
they don't. And, when we started this, it was very important. Right. We have black stores. Okay, I've never seen a Latino bookstore or an Asian bookstore. And we thought it was important to include everybody. And it has turned out to be a wonderful experience. The other thing that happened with all this stuff about being black, and the social justice movement, I had no social justice books. I didn't even, and I was embarrassed. I'm like, all the books that were out there on social justice, I had never heard of any of them. And the children's books. But I will say a lot of those books got written this year. Many of them, but there were many that have been around a long time. So that was a whole different section of books that I had to buy. And then I bought more Black history books because people were like, okay, let's get into that as well. So yeah, I'm happy. Teachers come in, they're just like, oh my God, everything is right in one setting, because we have a pretty good selection of multicultural books. I will say that my focus is on Black children books, but I have a really good selection of all the others. And I'm actually, as we speak, I'm trying to get dollars so that I can increase the other books also, because I think it's just really important.
Well, and I think it's so interesting because even after the George Floyd murder, we saw so many people looking for information.
Exactly.
And so there were lots of resources, whether it be books or videos or movies or whatever, to kind of get people interested in just understanding the history and how things have evolved and what the experience is like, since for people all over the world, really.
Exactly. And then the big rush on supporting Black bookstores. That was huge. As a matter of fact, we were featured in Oprah's magazine.
Awesome.
And we, as a Black bookstore in California, and we actually were put on the map. That was really, because she did a map and pinpointed the different stores where she actually put our store on the map. Oh my God, you can't even believe. I was
That's
so
exciting.
excited. I didn't know
Oprah knows who you are.
Right. Hello. Yeah. So there's been a lot of that too. As a result of that, I'm doing stuff. The 49ers are using me with a book thing that they're doing with the elementary schools in San Francisco. And she found me through the article. I'm like, okay.
Yes, that's fabulous. Well, and there's so many things as we get into Kwanzaa and all the principles surrounding Kwanzaa, the cooperative economics components. There's all these opportunities for us to really kind of share in that success and build each other up as we lift each other.
Exactly.
So I think that's awesome to be able to take your passion for, kind of learning and really shape it into, a Black history development class for teachers, because, you start talking about diversity and inclusion. I was just interviewing somebody last week and they were talking about they got their start in diversity and inclusion in the schools.
Oh, wow.
And helping teachers understand how to teach and include, in their curriculum.
Okay.
So it's so important to get that engagement early so that we see, the opportunities for success for, children all around. So I think it's fabulous what you're doing. So what does Black History Month look like for you when because I know you're also doing like publishing classes, and you've got I want to say Tuskegee Airmen Corporation's dinners and speaking engagements going. So, there's just so much work to be done.
Of course, that's a busy month for me. And I just, at first I was resenting being called Black History Month, right? I'm like, serious? I mean, so my thing is now I say, okay, let's use Black History Month as the start of your doing it year round. Okay, because that's the thing. So, but it's a good time of the year. And of course, I do put emphasis on, okay, you're doing this now, but you could do this in July.
Right.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
well, and I talk a lot about Kwanzaa, and I go, Kwanzaa should be every day. All those principles are things you should have in your life all the time, right? So Kwanzaa every day is my thing.
Exactly. Black History Month is a busy month for me, and I'm beginning to enjoy it instead of being angry because it is just 30 days. 28 days.
Right.
But it is, and it's kind of nice that people are embracing it. But I think part of the problem is that they just don't know. They just, educators don't have the information, and they too are tired of talking about the same doggone folks every year. I mean, they know that there are other people who contributed, but they aren't taking the time to find out, because my thing is, okay, everything that I say in this class, you can Google. Okay. But you got to want to Google.
Right. Depends on what your search is.
Right. I can't teach you to want to teach Black history. I can just help you along the way, So if that's not your thing, and you just here because your principal made you be here, I mean, okay, it's a waste of your time, not mine, because you're going to leave here knowing something. What you do with it is on your own.
Well, that's a quote in itself. I can't teach you to want to teach.
No, I can't. Right, exactly. And so my books, a friend of mine and I have created lesson plans around my books. So we're all excited about that. So I will start incorporating that into my professional development class also. So they will actually have a lesson plan, whereas it really was designed just to give them information and show them examples of how they can do it. Not a lesson plan, but we decided to incorporate that. So so they'll get a lot of
That's fantastic. And I know you said you're also beginning your own podcast soon.
Yes. So the other thing that I do, I write the weekly Black History column for the Post newspaper here, and it's in like 5 or 6 cities, I think. And I also record a 2-minute Black History vignette for KDYA. And so they post those. I do like 4 or 5, and they post them all month. Okay. And then, so I was sending out an email every day, Monday to Friday, and it was your dose of Black history. But I got so busy, COVID hit, doing the online store. Oh my gosh, so I didn't have time to do it anymore. So then I decided, okay, I've done some videos for the professional development class, right? So I'm like, okay, kind of like this, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, okay, why don't I do your 5-minute dose of Black history? And I'm like, okay. So she just told me, I think the first one is December. We were going to wait until January, but I think she said, I think it's December 23rd.
Okay, great. Mistaken. Just before Christmas and
I'll confirm that with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, the first one is going to be on Mary Fields. She was a stagecoach driver, a Black woman. She's funny. I mean, I enjoy talking about her because she is so... Mary, she's like 6 feet tall, big Black woman with a rifle, right?
I know a few of those.
I mean, it's a fun story. Yeah, right. But so I decided, okay, let's get back to, let me get back to providing a little dose of Black history every week. folks something to look forward to, because I did when I stopped doing it. I get a lot of emails. Okay, where is it? Right. So I'm also going to do a blog, but the good thing about that is I have it all written already. So just to give folks more information, a place to go, and read more about what Black folks have and are doing.
Yeah. Do you have specific people that I mean, you talked about Mary. Are there a few others that you think people may not know about that they find interesting?
Oh my gosh. One of the things, okay, I can't think of her name, but the lady they said invented the ironing board. I get a kick out of that because she didn't create the ironing board. She created an attachment that for the sleeve for the ironing board. I'm like, okay, so I do talk about that a lot. It's just like George Washington Carver. He did not create peanut butter, but okay. He created 100 other things to do with peanut butter, but that he didn't, but he was a genius when it came to agriculture, which was really very cool. Or that Dr. Hale performed the first heart surgery. That's just very cool. Or that a dentist, Dr. George Grant, created the first off tee. That's always everything. I mean, so people know about Garrett Morgan and the signal light, but do you know about the gas mask? And he did a lot of other things as well. Like the real McCoy. Okay, so it's whoever you want to believe that it came from Elijah McCoy, right? But that's the story I heard. Or last name is Crump, but he created the first potato chip. So they want to argue with me about that. Oh well, I don't care. I mean, so who you gonna believe, right? Right. Right. Yeah. Or that one more name. Oh my God, what's the whiskey? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. The whiskey that's the man's name. Anyway, oh my goodness.
It'll come to you. Come to you. But
the black guy who actually taught them how to do that. We've done so many things in the background, that it's been tough for Black folks. I mean, they couldn't get a patent because Black folks weren't considered citizens or even people, if you will, so
yeah.
So I don't apologize for it. So someone, I'm gonna say this again. When I first started writing these books, and I went to the library a few times, and I remember a librarian asked me, "So how do you know this information is true?" I took me like 2.3 seconds to say, "Do you own a set of Encyclopedia Britannica?" And so it was like, "Of course I do." So I said, "Well, how do you know that information is true?"
All right.
Because she looked at me. I know she wanted to slap me, but I was like, and it was like, okay, you believe what you believe. All right. I don't care if you don't believe it, but they wrote it. These are PhDs who wrote these books. The same as the folks who write the information in the encyclopedia. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting to me because, I mean, you look at anybody's story, like their story may be different than the story of the person next door. We always look for different things, but yet our perspectives bring life and connection to all the other things that are going on. So you can't invalidate my story just because your story is different, right?
Not only that, we've invalidated all that crap. I mean, just think of all the fake news and history that we've been taught all this time,
Sure.
which is a mind blowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long did you know you thought Christopher Columbus, create, was the first.
Yeah.
I mean, and so anyway, but yeah, I don't worry about that anymore.
Yeah, well, and I think it's so important for us to tell our own stories. As you know, I mean, my focus, my husband was a storyteller. So to me, it's like when we start talking about diversity and inclusion and you get into your story, everybody has a story. And it's just so relevant because you're touching people with your story, no matter where you are. or who you're with. And you may not be touching some people, but you're definitely touching people.
Well, let's tell you one other thing. You cannot spend one day of your life without a Black person touching you in some form or fashion.
All right. You heard it from Tamara. A Black person is touching you somewhere, somehow, every day. I love it.
Something in your house we've done, something outside that we've done, something at the job we've done. I don't care where you go. We've done something somewhere.
Yes. No, that's true. And, at the end of the day, there's so much more to be done, and there's so many things we can do.
God.
So it's just so exciting to see so many people doing such amazing work in the community, in the ability to really reach back and touch generations of people. So your efforts in your community are amazing. I'm glad they are broadening nationally or internationally. So I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to thrive and continue to feed us information to create better awareness, in the community and for our allies around the world. So congratulations to you. I'm so glad that I got to speak with you for a few minutes. And
oh, God, I appreciate your even reaching out. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to share, my little story.
Yes. Well, keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited. I think the more we talk about, our cultures and we will start to appreciate the myriad of multicultures that we have and what we bring to each other. So I hope it only continues to fuel the dialogue.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining me.
You're very, very, very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on the Jali podcast. Please subscribe so you won't miss an episode. See you next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.